Alright, so let's break down the passé composé into its various parts. So remember that the passé composé is one verb, but it's made up out of two parts. So when we're speaking about the passé composé in general, we have to worry about the auxiliary verb, which is either avoir or être, conjugated in the regular présent tense, plus our past participle, which is always formed from the infinitive. So ER verbs drop the ER, add E accent aigu. IR verbs drop the IR, add an I. RE verbs drop the RE, add a U. Or it's memorized if that particular verb has an irregular past participle. If you are missing one of these two parts, then you cannot have the passé composé. You must have both an auxiliary verb and a past participle to be able to use this tense in French. So for example, if we look at the sentence, nous avons mangé, so we have eaten. Our auxiliary verb is avons, that's avoir in the present tense, and our past participle is manger. We took the infinitive manger. They sound the same because ER and E accent aigu make the exact same sound. We dropped our ER and we added the E accent aigu, so that's our past participle. We have eaten. Nous is, of course, the subject pronoun. This is not part of the verb whatsoever. It's our subject of our sentence, and it happens to be a pronoun, therefore it's a subject pronoun. All of the subjects that we write on our verb conjugations, the je, tu, il, elle, on, nous, vous, il, and elle, are subject pronouns. But the entire verb is avons mangé. Even though it's two words, both of those words together are considered to be the verb in this sentence, because we must have those two words in order to have the passé composé. We have to have an auxiliary verb, avoir or être, and we have to have a past participle. It's not just one or the other. They are both verbs, and we must have both words to form one composed verb. That's the composé part of passé composé. So let's see if you can do this. Question number 1. What is the verb of the following sentence? Tu as grandi. You have grown. What is the verb? What's the past participle of that same sentence, though? In a reflexive verb, the reflexive passé composé conjugations are still one verb, but now instead of being composed of two words, it has three words. The auxiliary verb will always be être. The past participle, we form the exact same way. Either drop the ER and add an E accent aigu, drop the IR, add an I, drop the RE, add a U, or memorize an irregular. The only difference between the reflexive passé composé and the non-reflexive passé composé is that reflexive pronoun at the very beginning. It's conjugated from se, the exact same way we did in our last unit. So je became me, tu became te, il, elle, and on stayed as se, nous becomes nous, vous becomes vous, and il and elle become se. The reflexive pronoun sits at the beginning of our passé composé. Even though it's a pronoun, it gets considered to be part of the verb because we have to have a reflexive pronoun in a reflexive sentence. So for example, if we look at nous nous sommes habillés, so we have gotten dressed. Our reflexive pronoun stays the exact same. So we had a se from se habiller, s'habiller. We've conjugated that into nous in order to match our subject pronoun. and that's what goes first. Then we have our auxiliary verb, être, always for the reflexives, even if the verb takes avoir in the non-reflexive form. Anytime that it's used reflexively, we have to use être. So our conjugation for être, to match nous, is sont. And then finally, our past participle. Okay, so we took habiller, we dropped our er, added our e accent aigu, and we had to add an s to make it agree with the fact that there's more than one person in nous. Again, nous is our subject pronoun, the first nous. That's how we are conjugating all of these things. We conjugate them all to match nous. And this time our verb is 3 words. Nous sommes habillés is the verb, even though it has 3 different words in it. Just like before, when our auxiliary verb and our past participle went together to form the verb, and our reflexive pronoun, auxiliary verb, and past participle all smashed together to form one verb, even if it's 3 words. So let's try it again. Identify the verb in the following sentence. Je me suis lavé. This time, tell me which one is the auxiliary verb in that same sentence. Question number 5. Now it's going to be your turn to attempt to conjugate. Find the parts of the passé composé for the following verb. So, par exemple, if I had je and se lever, I would have to conjugate my reflexive pronoun to be me in order to match je. My auxiliary verb would be suis, because I know I have to use être for reflexive verbs, and my être conjugation for je is suis. And my past participle is lever, because lever is a regular er verb, more or less. So we take off our er and we add e accent aigu. So, what are the reflexive pronoun, the auxiliary verb, and the past participle for il and s'occuper?